Hey, if you're listening to this podcast or you're on the YouTube channel, part of the reason you're here is because I'm one of the few designers who likes to talk about profitability. In fact, I just came out with a book last month called Design, Profit, and Prosper. So go check that out. It's on Amazon. Just put in Carina Gardner. You should be able to find it. And I tried to make it as inexpensive as possible. I think the Kindle version is really, really cheap on purpose. So go check that out. I today want to talk about how simple equals profitable. Some of you are making becoming a designer way more complicated than it has to be, okay? So simple really does equal profitability. The simpler and more focused you can be in your design business, actually, the faster you will make money. Let me explain this a little bit, okay? If you are someone who feels like you have to create a social media following and you need to operate at a certain level and you need to know everything about Illustrator and you need to know everything about Procreate, maybe you also need to know everything about Photoshop, and that you also need to be blogging about all of the things that you're making, and maybe you start a podcast possibly, or maybe a YouTube channel so that you can show everything you're doing. That all feels like a lot. It feels very overcomplicated. It feels very overwhelming to a brand new designer. But if you're a new designer and you go, what are the things I actually need to do in order to make money? Sorry, that's my dog who just decided to bark. Okay, what are the things I actually need to do in order to make money? So I would look at that. I know for me, I would look at that, and it's the things I tell you guys to do all the time. Am I designing every day? Like, am I actually making the thing that makes money? All right, so I'd evaluate that. And then I'd be like, how fast am I designing? So do I know how to use the programs in such a way that I'm so fast that I can make lots of products in a very short amount of time, okay? Am I going through the entire design process model? And you can find that in my book. I talk about it in the last. Talked about it in the last episode a little bit too. But you can find episodes on the podcast where I talk about it, or you can take I have a master class where I talk about it. Okay, so am I doing all the things there? All right. So I really dig into what are the activities I can do today that will actually make money. And you guys, it's really that simple. And then if we behave simply, so we only do the activities that actually bring us income, that we know will bring us income. Because some people will say, well, social media brings me an income. And I'm like, okay, are you tracking it? Do you know if you see someone on social media and then they come over and buy? That, to me, if that is an activity that actually brings in money for you, and I know I know people where that is an actual activity that brings in income, okay? Where they go all the way from being on social media to finding that client who then actually buys, okay? Quickly. That is one thing. But for most designers, that's not the case. Audience building usually isn't an activity I like to do at the beginning. It doesn't make a ton of sense, but you'll have to evaluate that for yourself. The only question you have to ask yourself, and then all I need you to do is do those steps, is this an activity that will bring in income? If it is, you should be doing it. If it's not, or if it's one that you say, well, maybe it will eventually, you just need to table it. Put it in a parked pile list. It's not something you ought to be doing right now. Instead, you need to be pushing ahead so that you're doing the actual activities that bring you profits. Because by doing that, all kinds of other great things happen. And I'm not going to get into those today. It is always amazing to me that the designers who behave simple, they do the actual activities that bring income in their business, all kinds of other wonderful things happen to them. And it doesn't mean that they aren't going to build on those activities over time. I certainly have, but they're not things that you're going to be doing right now. So ask yourself the question, will this bring in income? If it does not, you should not be doing it, especially within the first 3 years of your business very often, okay? Hopefully that helps. I can't wait to see what you're doing, because here's the thing. Designers who are pushing forward, who are doing the right things, they're making money. And that's what I like, because you're no longer a hobbyist. You're actually doing this for a living, and you're actually living your dream career. All right, guys, I cannot wait to see your progress, and I can't wait to see you later. If you've been enjoying the podcast and you're not on the YouTube channel, I can't recommend enough going over to youtube.com/Carina Gardner and subscribing to the channel. We have all sorts of great things happening over there, and vice versa. If you're on the YouTube channel, come on over to the podcast. This is an easy way to listen while you're driving a car or cooking dinner or something else. All right, guys, I'll see you soon. Hey, did you know that you can visit me at makeanddesign.com to learn more about this podcast and join my VIP group for weekly freebies? I can't wait to see you there.